Welcome everyone to yesterday's NBA news, even though we will feature obviously some news from today since it's 6 p.m. here already. And I was not able to record earlier because of a job interview. So let's get into yesterday's news because we have a lot of news, even though it was not a crazy frenzy to start the free agency. There were some major moves made. And the first one, the biggest one, is Paul George heading to the Philadelphia 76ers, signing a 4-year, $212 million deal. Paul George averaged 22, 23, 5, and 4 on 47, 41, 91 splits in 74 games last year. And obviously, he makes the big three for the Sixers with him, Tyrese Maxey, who got re-signed, which we'll talk about a little later, and Joel Embiid, which makes the Sixers team very dangerous heading into next year. Even though, obviously, Joel Embiid's playoff history, Paul George's playoff history will be funny, and I think this team could very well crash out. But they secure themselves a good window, right, for these next 4 years with Paul George, and we'll see how the Sixers are able to accommodate the roster overall. We've seen them made some other moves already, and I think this team is really great. And this fits really well, even though I would have loved to see Paul George in the Orlando Magic. But at the end of the day, the Sixers just made perfect sense for Paul George and for the Sixers, vice versa. So this is a great deal for both sides. Then, next up, we have KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, heading to the Orlando Magic, which I'm really excited about. 3-year deal, $66 million, player option for the third year. Averaged 10, 2 and 2 on 46, 41, almost 90 splits in 76 games for the Denver Nuggets last year. And I'm really excited about this deal. This is a perfect fit. Defensively, he fits obviously incredibly well with the defense that the Orlando Magic have. The point of attack defense that KCP had will be such a missed piece for the Denver Nuggets, and I don't think they have the capacity to replace it. I guess they need a leap from Christian Brown, or they need to make some other moves. But clearly, the front office does not want to go into the tax luxury, where they would have to pay more money. And that's why KCP is moving on to the Orlando Magic, which really is a great fit. The Magic are expected to lose Markel Fultz, but he will fit in right at the shooting guard position. Jalen Sachs next to him. That's two great point of attack defenders. Powell and Franz with Wendell Carter Jr. at center is a really great starting five with some obviously great pieces of the bench. In Cole Anthony, for example, right? Mo Wagner is expected to come back very likely. So I really love the Magic for next year, if especially Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero can make somewhat of a leap, right? But a really great move for the Magic. Then the Warriors, where the laughing stock as the dynasty is officially falling apart. Warriors waived Chris Paul to not guarantee 30 million. And he then signed a 1-year, $11 million deal with the San Antonio Spurs. Chris Paul averaged 9, 4, and 7 on 44, 37, 83 splits in 58 games. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Chris Paul is gone. I guess whatever about that. But yeah, to the Spurs, it's a really great deal. Obviously, him and Wemby makes so much sense. It just makes the perfect sense. It's such a great spot for Chris Paul. If he didn't want to go to the Lakers, right, on a mid-level exception, and they gave him 11 million, so they clearly gave him. I would say that's the double the money than the mid-level exception that the Lakers were able to afford, and that makes just perfect sense. Perfect veteran to mentor Stephon Castle, who the Spurs drafted, and a perfect veteran for Wemby to just get him the goddamn ball at the end of the day most of the times. Clay, more news on Clay Thompson next. Mavericks, Lakers, Clippers, Sixers interested. The Sixers are off the board, I would say, obviously, with the signing of Paul George. Now, the question is Mavs, Lakers, most likely. We don't know. We don't know yet. There have been no news as of 6 p.m. unless they were, once I'm recording this video, which I can actually check just for y'all. So we'll give you the peak info. Anything new? Doesn't seem like it actually. Doesn't seem like it. Anyway, anyway, Clay is for sure leaving. That's for sure. There are obviously talks of a sign and trade with the Lakers and the Mavericks, we'll see what happens. I'll be here to cover it, obviously, but I don't want to talk about it further. It's a sad ending. It's just a really sad ending, and hard to imagine Clay in another jersey and not retiring as a Golden State Warrior, which he still can, but obviously not playing his full career as a Warrior. Just makes me sad, and this is clearly a retooling year for the Warriors, as Clay averaged 18, 3 and 2 on 43, 39, 93 splits in 77 games. James Harden back to the LA Clippers with a player option for the second year, a 2-year deal for 70 million, so 35 per year. He averaged 17, 5 and 9 on 43, 38, 88 splits in 72 games. Makes his return to LA, makes sense for him in a obviously 1-year deal, quote unquote, essentially, if he wants to. Stays with the Clippers, will have a bigger role with Paul George gone, I would say. So obviously a good move for the Clippers nonetheless. I mean, I don't know, the Clippers without Paul George will be intriguing to watch for sure. And they made obviously some moves which we'll get to, and they can still make some moves. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how they round out this roster. Then we head to OKC that made a lot of moves this morning or this afternoon for me. And the biggest one is Isaiah Hartenstein from the New York Knicks. Signs a 3-year, $87 million deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He averaged 8, 8 and 3 on 64, 33, 71 splits in 75 games. Played a major role in the Knicks' success. Such a good all-around player. Obviously can defend the center position, which is huge relief for Chet. Obviously physically, and it just makes perfect sense. OKC is going for it, and I would love for them to trade for Lauri Markkanen, who is apparently available, but that we'll have to wait and see if that happens or not. But if they do that, I might have them as the favorite next year, honestly. Beautiful signing, beautiful fit, and from what I've heard, the third year is a team option, which is in line with obviously the max deals for Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein has all the money front loaded, which means he'll get most of the money in the first 2 years. So a perfect deal. Sam Presti does it again. Tyrese Maxey resigns with the Philadelphia 76ers, 5-year, $205 million deal, max deal. Obviously, Maxey averaged 26, 4 and 7 on 45, 38, 87 shooting in 70 games. He's true superstar rise year, even though without Embiid he was not too much of a superstar, but still the leap was there, sensational in the playoffs, and he gets a well-deserved guarantee 5-year deal with the Sixers. Paul George now there, championship is expected in Philadelphia now, I would say. Then we have an extension for Cade Cunningham, a 5-year, $226 million max with the Detroit Pistons for the former number one pick. 23, 4 and 8 on 45, 36, 87 splits in however many games that I did not write down. I'm sorry. But yeah, Cade getting the max, nothing to talk about there really, just a standard move for the Pistons. But then they signed Tobias Harris. We've been talking about it for the last, I don't know, 2 years that the Pistons will get Tobias Harris back. Hey, it happened. They had to spend some money because of the cap space and the new CBA. So he gets a 2-year, $52 million deal with the Pistons. Obviously, will make them better in the short term. 17, 6 and 3, 7 and 3 on 49, 35, 88 splits in 70 games last season. And yeah, that's that. As we get into obviously the rest of the lesser deals, Obi Toppin is resigning with the Pacers, 4-year, $60 million deal. Here, career year off the bench, really impressive playoff run, 10, 4 and 2 on 58, 40, 77 splits in 82 games. Love this fit for the Pacers and love this deal for the Pacers overall. It's a shame that they were not able to get KCP, but Orlando obviously still a better fit at the end of the day, and we'll see if the Pacers do something else. And they obviously already did their part this season with resigning Pascal Siakam. Jonas Valanciunas, 3-year, $30 million deal to the Washington Wizards. A veteran for the Wizards rebuild. I guess this deal feels so random to me, but shit, whatever, right? That's just sometimes what happens. Valanciunas averaged 12, 9, and 2 on 56, 30, won 78 splits in 82 games with the Pelicans last season. And yeah, I don't know what to say. A good mentor, I suppose, for the young guys there. And for Alex Sarr. Derek Jones Jr., 3-year deal, $30 million deal with the LA Clippers from leaving the Dallas Mavericks. He averaged obviously 9, 3, and 1 on 48, 34, 71 splits in 76 games. For the Mavs last year, a huge part defensively and even offensively for the Mavs Mavs team that made the finals. And now he'll join the Clippers as he clamped up Paul George. So I guess they wanted him because of that. And I mean, it's a good deal, a really good deal. They get a huge, good wing defender that they can play with Paul George leaving. Maybe less is more for the Clippers, right? Maybe more role players, bigger role for Harden and Kawhi, and maybe they'll be better next year. We'll see what happens with them. But I like this deal a lot. Najee Marshall to the Dallas Mavericks, 3-year, $27 million deal. He averaged 7, 4, and 2 on 46, 39, 79 splits in 66 games for the Pelicans last season. A really good replacement for Derrick Jones. A better shooter and slightly worse defender, I would say, but obviously a really comparable player to Derrick Jones, and I like that move a lot for Dallas as a pivot, and they still can get Klay Thompson. So if they get Klay, whoo, man, that would be a special offseason for them after making the finals. Isaiah Joe returned to the Oklahoma City Thunder on a 4-year, $48 million deal. The premier sniper averaged 8, 2, and 1 on 46, 42, and 87 splits in 78 games. OKC gets their, obviously, sniper back, which is huge. And this is a perfect deal. The spacing, obviously, he provides is huge. Whether he starts or comes off the bench. A really great deal for Oklahoma City. And Aaron Wiggins is also making a return to OKC on a 5-year, $47 million deal. 7, 2, and 1 averages on 56, 58, 79 splits in 78 games. Had a really good year. Might take a leap off the bench right this season, but obviously stays within his role. Gets a good deal. Really good for OKC. Man, if they add Lauri Markkanen, it will be so over. It will be so over for the league. I'm just telling you. Jalen Smith, 3-year, $27 million deal with the Chicago Bulls, leaving the Indiana Pacers. Average 10, 5, or 6, and 1 on 59, 42, 69 splits in 61 games. Good deal for the Bulls, I guess. I don't know. Not much opinion from me on that, honestly. Max Christie re-signs with the Lakers on a 4-year, $32 million deal, as he is looking to be more of a rotational piece from what I've read, so that will be interesting. He had some moments at least. He averaged 4, 2, and 1 on 43, 36, 78 splits in 67 games. Then the Celtics get back Luke Cornett on a 1-year deal. The money has not been set. He averaged 5, 4, and 1 on 70, 191 splits in 63 games. Really good bench, obviously big for the Celtics, especially for the regular season. And they get him back as they will be running back with their pretty much the whole top 10 from last, obviously from the championship year. Then Kelly Oubre returns on a 2-year, $16.3 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. 15.4, 15, 5, and 1, 2 averages on 44, 31, and 75 splits in 68 games. He had a really solid year for the Sixers. Really good deal for them. Love this for them. And the Sixers, like I said, championship or bust next year in a way. Or especially in these next 4 years. Obviously with the news of Paul George, Maxey, Embiid. Their window is right now. And Andre Drummond is coming to Sixers also with a 2-year, $10+ million deal as a bench big, which is huge for them. He's always been a solid bench big these last couple of years in Chicago. Great rebounder still. Averaged 8, 9, and 1, I guess, on 56, 0, and 59 splits in 79 games. Such a great add off the bench for the Sixers. And the Sixers, I just love their moves. They all make sense, but we'll see if Paul George and Embiid are too much of a chokers and injuries. Obviously, that will be the biggest question mark about this team, very likely, with a great coach like Nick Nurse. I would not be surprised if they won the championship next year, if Embiid stays healthy, that is, obviously. Anyway, Omer Yurtseven, waived by the Jazz. There is appeared to be some interest for him next season. Averaged 5, 4, and 1 on 54, 21, 68 splits. Mason Plumlee signed a 1 year, however much $1 million deal with the Suns. He replaces Drew Eubanks, who went to the Utah Jazz, which we'll get to later, or two spots away from now. 5, 5, and 1 on 57, 0, 71 splits in 46 game. When healthy, Plumlee is a really good big. So that's a good get for the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion. Eric Gordon to the Sixers. Another good signing for the Sixers on a 1 year. We don't know the money deal yet. 11, 2, and 2 on 44, 38, 80 splits in 68 games. For Eric Gordon with the Phoenix Suns last year. A really good, obviously, shooter off the bench, very likely for the Sixers. Drew Eubanks, 2 year, $10 million deal with the Utah Jazz. 5, 4, and 1 on 60, 177 in 75 games. Then Nehemias Queta, multi-year deal with the Celtics to return. In 28 games, he averaged 6, 5, 6, 4, and 1 on 65, 0 or not registered 71 splits. Then I wrote down Isaiah Hartenstein had a meeting with the Thunder, but he already signed with them. Kevin Love, 2 year, $8 million return to the Miami Heat. 9, 6, and 2 on 44, 34, 79 splits in 55 games. Alex Len, a 1 year, $3.3 million deal to return to the Kings. 3, 3, and 1 on 62 splits, 62, 0, 59 splits in 48 games. Good backup big for the Kings, obviously, who are locked in to make a move for Brandon Ingram, I would say. I'm pretty sure I read, and there was somebody else that I can remember. Professional reporter. Luka Garza re-signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves on a 2 year, however many $1 million deal that is not known yet. He averaged 4, 1, and 0 on 48, 28, 72 splits in 25 games last year. Russell Westbrook. The Clippers are trying to find a trade partner for him. Obviously, Russ, we talked about it yesterday, that he is returning to the Clippers, but he will not play a game for them anyway. So we'll see where Russ gets traded. Bulls offered Lavine for Wiggins and Chris Paul, but the Warriors rather waived Chris Paul and declined. I'll talk about it in a video tomorrow, or we'll see when, for the Warriors side. But I'm happy that they did not take this deal, because the Bulls were apparently offering first-round picks with Lavine, which I talked about yesterday. Last 3 deals. My voice is almost gone. Nicolas Batum is not returning to the Sixers, Philadelphia 76ers. Apparently, in 60 games, he averaged 5, 4, and 2. He obviously had his biggest moment in the playoffs, or in the play-in, rather, where he single-handedly saved the Sixers season there. We'll see where he goes. Then, Abuser signs with the Clippers. I will not be talking about that further. And Justin Minaya, with the Blazers on a 2 year deal, averaged 2, 2, and 1 on 30, 25, 56 splits in 28 games or something like that, I'm pretty sure. And that's it for today's news. Obviously, there will be a lot of news coming up, probably not even that far away from now, but I'll be covering it tomorrow, unless Clay obviously signs somewhere, and then I'll talk about the Warriors' perspective today. Anyway, I think that's all. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all tomorrow with more NBA news.